Hey there, and welcome to Nano Tank Labs. Today we're going over the aquarium cycling process. Very simply, this is the process of establishing good nitrifying bacteria in your aquarium. And this is critical before you even think about buying a fish. Most fish that die in the first few weeks of ownership weren't because of the fish itself, but because your tank wasn't cycled. But don't worry, we can address this really quickly and make sure that your tank is safe for your new friends. So let's dive right in and get started. In order to properly cycle your aquarium, you're going to need a few products. First, we have a water dechlorinator, a bottle of nitrifying bacteria, some fish food, an aquarium test strip for ammonia, and then an aquarium test strip for everything else. And links to all these products in the description below the video. Alright, the first step in our cycle is to dechlorinate the water. Removing the chlorine in the water allows the bacteria colonies to start growing and establishing in your aquarium. Anytime you ever add tap water to your aquarium, it needs to be dechlorinated before it goes into the aquarium. Now that the water in your fish tank is dechlorinated, you can add your first inhabitants, your nitrifying beneficial bacteria, and these will be some of the most important organisms in your aquarium. Nitrifying bacteria simply takes dangerous ammonia produced by your aquarium inhabitants and turns it into nitrogen, which is much safer and easily uptaken by plants. Now, there are plenty of bottled bacteria companies that recommend adding a fish immediately after the bacteria is introduced to the aquarium, but I want to test that and make sure that's actually true. So I'm going through an entire process here to prove to you and make sure that this is actually safe for your fish. Our newly added bacteria needs a food source, so I'm adding in a pinch of fish food here. This fish food will break down in the water and eventually turn into ammonia. The bacteria will then eat that ammonia and turn it into nitrite. And then a separate type of bacteria in your aquarium will take that nitrite and turn it into nitrate. During this time, I'm leaving the filter running 24/7 to keep the water circulating and make sure that bacteria has seeded the entire aquarium. Alright, it's been a few days, so now it's time to test our aquarium water and see if our bacteria has completed the cycle. Now I'm using test strips here. I have an ammonia test strip and then a multi-test strip that tests everything else. I'm a big proponent of test strips. Sure, there's really great water test kits out there, but test strips are so easy and something that you're going to want to do more often. Now in our first test here, we have our ammonia test strips, and we're looking for any sort of readings of ammonia. Ammonia is the most dangerous chemical for your fish in the aquarium hobby, and it's just naturally generated by the fish eating and living. But thankfully, the beneficial bacteria are meant to break that down into something that's much safer for the fish. So this test is really critical. If we have ammonia present, that means that the cycle hasn't occurred at all, and we need to wait longer or add more beneficial bacteria. So what I'm doing here is just simply dipping in the test strip per instructions, and then we're going to wait and then capture a reading. So now all we do is set down our ammonia test strip, set a timer per the instructions, and wait and see if any sort of reading is detected. I'm going to speed through this here, but I have the timer just to prove that I waited the full 2 minutes. So this is our moment of truth. I have the test strip here, we waited 2 minutes, and now we're going to compare it to the scale on the bottle. As you can see, the more blue it is, the more ammonia that's present, and if it's pure white, there's no ammonia. Now, it's probably a little harder to see on camera here, but our test strip was pure white, which is fantastic news. That means that there's absolutely no ammonia present here, even though there was an ammonia source in the aquarium. So now we're going to move on to our next test. Now we're moving on to our second and hopefully final test to prove that our aquarium is cycled. This is a 7-in-1 test strip, and what this does is it checks for basically everything else besides ammonia. So we're going to figure out if there's any nitrites present and then nitrates. And that's going to tell us if our aquarium is mid-cycle or even has a completed cycle. We also get some other cool stats like pH, water hardness, if there's any chlorine in the water. So this is a really useful tool to get a quick snapshot of the health of the water in your aquarium. Now, testing water in the aquarium hobby may seem a little bit complicated, and that's why I recommend these test strips. There's some incredible test kits out there with vials, and you get to feel like a chemist, but if you use a test strip like this, you get to test out a ton of different things. I think it's 7 things listed here in a matter of minutes. And that's going to be something that you're going to do more often, and you can have repeatable data sources and really make decisions. We're not looking at the most detailed data here, but more about trends. And that's why these test strips are just fantastic. So all you do for this one is you dip it in for 1 second per the label, don't shake off the excess water, and then you set it aside for a total of 1 minute. So I'm going to complete that here in YouTube warp speed, but in real life it feels just as fast. Alright, so this is the big moment of truth. Did our cycle actually work? So we're going to grab our test strip, we're going to grab our aquarium test kit bottle here with its scale, and for the record it's only 6 things that you're testing, but luckily this isn't a math channel. So let's grab our test strip and start comparing it. So the very top pad, that's testing nitrate, and we actually want to see some nitrate. So I don't know if you could see it on the camera, but I got a very low pink reading. And that's fantastic news. That means that the bacteria in the aquarium has transformed the ammonia source into nitrate. And what's really exciting is the pad directly below it tests for nitrite, which is the middle step of the cycling process and not good. And that's completely white. So with this, we're able to prove that the cycle actually worked. Now that we've proven that there's no ammonia or nitrite present in our aquarium and the cycle has started, we're ready to finally add a fish. So in our next video, we're going to add a betta fish to this tank and then track the first couple of days to show you exactly how to introduce a fish to a new aquarium.